Well, are y'all ready? Let's begin. So starting with the first question, and that will be way down here. It feels like number one should be closer to me. The first question, tell us who you are and why you're running for city council.
Well, if you haven't had an opportunity to hear my name is Cynthia Alvidrez. I'm a community advocate here, and I've been up at the city council for years. It all started with an after-school care program that they took away. We fought for it, and unfortunately, they ended up doing away with it, and it cost 200 working families the ability to be able to, work and have affordable childcare. I'm running for city council because I'm still not happy. We're still getting stolen from. Our infrastructure is still falling apart. And really with the city council, it's just the same old poop, just a different day. And I'll continue to run until I feel like I get the representation that I deserve per my tax dollars, which is not happening. So I look forward to meeting each and every one of you. If I'm your cup of tea, vote for me. I will be running for place 5. I'm third on the ballot, first in your heart.
All right, so we have 2 minutes for this question. I noticed we let you go, and I was like, I hope she doesn't go over 2 minutes.
You did good.
And we have people down here telling you yellow, 15 seconds, red, time's up.
Okay. My name's Tammy Fogel, and I'm running for place 6. We're not sitting in order here, so it can be a little confusing, but I am a wife to my husband, to my husband, Patrick. Got that order right. I have 4 kids. We've lived in Abilene our whole life. We met in college. I'm just an average citizen, and I decided a couple years ago that I didn't understand what was going on in our local government, and not many people that I knew understood that either. And so I thought, this can't be hard. Let's dive in and see what happens. So I decided to pull up my sleeves and get to work, and I found out there's a lot more going on than most people know, and I think it would help if average people could get more involved. And so I decided to take that knowledge, and now I'm running for city council to help bring that education and awareness and transparency from not only the dais at city council, but also to the public, so that they can feel like they're a part of what's going on in Abilene and feel encouraged and excited to be a part of what our community is doing. So thank you.
My name is Travis Graver, and I'm the incumbent for Abilene City Council Place 6. My wife and I, Caroline, we've lived in Abilene since 2000. My wife is a speech pathologist at West Texas Rehab, and I've been fortunate to be on for 2 terms for Abilene City Council. I just, honestly, at the end of the day, I love to serve. I love to be a representative for a lot of you guys, the residents here in our city, because I believe in a city that has the opportunity to flourish, where businesses can thrive, and where people feel like their voices are given an opportunity to be heard. And so for me, Abilene City Council has been a great conduit of that. And so I'm very blessed and fortunate to have been in this position, and hopefully after today, you'll find the opportunity to vote for me.
Well, my name is Kyle McAllister. I am the incumbent in place 5. I was first elected in 2013. My wife, Amy, is here with us, and my mom is here, and we have, my wife and I have 2 daughters who both went to school here in Abilene, at Abilene High and Abilene Christian High School, and then to ACU. I'm running because Abilene is my town. I live here. I've been here since, pretty much since I came to college here in 1985. Moved away for a couple of times, but Abilene has been our home for a long time. We have property here. We're homeowners here. We're taxpayers here, and we are involved here. I'm running again because even though we have made a start on our streets, we need to do more. I'm running because we have the opportunity to create a huge economic incentive program, or a huge economic engine with the facility going into the north of town. I'm running again because I think there's a lot that still needs to be done in this great city, and Abilene's the greatest people in the world because they are caring about each other. I believe that when it comes to city council, that I have the temperament to be on the council, which means you have to agree with people that you might not disagree, or did I say that right? You agree with people that you might otherwise disagree with, but there's a temperament involved. I believe I have the judgment to make the decisions, the hard decisions that have been made and will continue to need to be made. And I believe that I have an investment in this community. Like I said, we've been here since about 1985-ish. And we are invested in this community. This is our home, and I look forward to visiting with you during this debate, tables over here. You can visit with me there as well. And early voting starts in April.
Hi, my name is Miguel Espinoza. I'm born and raised here in Abilene, Texas. I'm a local CPA that specializes in tax. I also serve as the president of the board of directors for All Kind Animal Initiative, and I also serve on the board of directors for the Nickel as well. So pretty active in the nonprofit world. That's kind of where I kind of got to see a little bit into the city side and kind of piqued my interest a little bit there. And Abilene City Council, they shape our everyday experience here in Abilene. And so that's where I think it's super important for us to have, strong leadership there. And I believe I have the skill set to really, serve and, help them, especially in these times where, it's a high inflationary environment. There's a lot of development coming down the pipeline. I think a good financial analysis person stepping into that role would be very, very helpful on council. And I hope that I can do that when elected.
Perfect. All right, our next question, we're starting with you, Miguel, and working our way back. Name 3 issues the city is doing well with.
Yeah, I think a hot topic would be, I'll go ahead and throw out streets out there. I think Abilene City Council has been really aggressive in attacking that issue for our citizens. I know citizens who have not yet seen that benefit, they're, a little bit upset on that front, but I think streets is something that they're pressing really, really hard on to really get done, and I'm happy that they're really, pushing to keep that going forward with the development there. DCOA, I think, is absolutely fantastic. The work that they've done, the businesses that they've brought, and will continue to bring, I think, it makes Abilene a very attractive place to live. A lot of it is just making sure that we keep, building the infrastructure and keep pushing for a lot of this development here in Abilene, because it is a special place to live, and I'm looking forward to what they continue to do.
Okay, 3 issues the city is doing well with. I also think that streets, we kicked that can down the road, figuratively and literally, for many years, and finally made the decision back in 2015 to kind of start moving in that direction. Our streets did not get in a bad situation overnight, and they're not going to get fixed overnight. But we have, through the street maintenance fund, through some of the bonds, through monies from DCOA, we have increased our street maintenance. About 29% of the streets in Abilene have now been touched with some of the work to do them. And some streets, we're going to have to take them all the way down and build them up. Some of them we just need to kind of work on, and that's the street maintenance part of it. So that's one. I think that we're doing well with downtown revitalization. Downtown revitalization and infill development. We are encouraging folks to come downtown. We've got some work going on Cypress Street. We have programs that we have for builders to give them incentives to build in low-income areas and infill development. And the last thing that we're doing, what I think we're doing really well, is our private-public partnerships, PPPs, or 3Ps, or whatever you want to call them. One of them being the AYSA with the 2 facilities they have out here. The new animal shelter, the park, is a public-private partnership that has done well with the city and brought in other people. One of the things that we're looking at maybe doing with a public-private partnership is our transportation, our CityLink service. So those are things that are on the way. And then the other one that's really been great is the relationship that the city has with the Betty Hardwick Center when it comes to dealing with folks who are having mental health issues. And we'll talk about that maybe later. But, if for example, a police officer is called with a mental health issue, then the Betty Hardwick Center comes in, and that's also a public-private partnership that is in play.
I'll kind of share a little bit in terms of what I think we're doing well. Number one, I think that there's an economic diversification of how we're using a lot of the dollars to incentivize businesses to invest into the Abilene community. And 2 of the people have shared a little bit about that. And if you think about that, there are TERS that can be used where you're incentivizing different developers to come into the city and invest, then to have that money turn back around and work itself for the city as well. I would also say the public-private partnership level is really, really incredibly creative in the way that Abilene is able to lean into that. Whereas you go to a lot of cities, they have never really touched and been able to collaborate in that spectrum. And so an example of that is the expansion of the Abilene Zoo. If a lot of you guys would recall, there's been over $15 million that was awarded to it, whereas the city was able to give at least $9.5 million in terms of the public-private partnership to incentivize and to continue to build, so that our zoo continues to grow and expand, and all the people that come in to experience it and be a part of it, all those monies are being reinvested back into our city. And then lastly, I think infill development is near and dear to my heart, because you're given the opportunity with the Rebuild ABI. A lot of these cities that have been long forgotten, or a lot of these cities, whereas there wasn't a lot of investment down the road, they weren't invested in. And so Abilene revitalizing interest in that and really beautifying these neighborhoods that have been forgotten have been some things that I would touch on.
This is a fun question because, I'm a problem solver. I like to look and see what's not working and find a way to fix it. So it's nice to be able to stop and go, okay, let's look and see what is going well. What are we doing that's a benefit to the citizens here in the community? And I'll say the first thing that I've noticed over the last few years that is going a lot better than it has in the past is police morale. I feel like the police officers are in a good place where they've got a leader that's leading them well, and they are finding a new stride for them. And I think that's really healthy for our city. The second thing I would say is tourism. It's a little different twist on what my opponent said, but it is that we are very much aware of what people think of when they come to our city. And we want to give them opportunities to have positive experiences from visiting the zoo or going to Frontier, Texas, or enjoying downtown. There's a lot of different opportunities for guests to come in and enjoy the different parts. For example, the storybook capital of the world. That's a claim to fame I never thought Abilene would have, but we have it. We have so many great accolades from that one event alone, or that one title alone. And I think it's really important that we continue to focus on that because it is important for people who come into town. The last thing I would say is I really appreciate how the city has their priorities and their goals very well laid out. So if you want to know what they're wanting to go after, you can pay attention and see. And then if you're noticing that maybe one of those goals isn't one of yours, or it's something you want, there's an easy way to measure how well they're doing on those goals. And I think, while that may be a kind of a weird plus, I think it's good because it gives us a place to measure from and to be able to measure our success and see what we're doing well. And so I think there's a lot of great things. Of course, I've been here since 1993. Abilene's my home, and I look forward to continue to being a part of making it a place where people enjoy living and coming to visit.
2 minutes.
Did the clock start already? Because reality's about to hit the fan. Now, there are some great things going on in the city. I don't necessarily think that it's coming from the city council. Based on my experience and based on the research and based on the neighborhoods in which I live, there was a couple of things that was brought up by incumbents that are sitting up here. One is a public-private partnership. There's only really one way that you're going to be able to partner with the city. And it's very difficult for certain entities and certain organizations to be able to partner with the city. Another one is the TERS. A lot of people don't even know what the TERS is. It's the Tax Increment Reinvestment Zone. We've had one in 1982 that sunsetted in 2013. Another one that was brought up. Both of those, one of them included GV Daniels, which they could have renovated with the TERS money, and they didn't. They could have added it to the second TERS, and they didn't. And instead of adding our infrastructure into the TERS, they added ACU's property, which is now Allen Ridge. And they got monies to build their infrastructure there. I find it ironic that Kyle's wife works there. Shane Price, his wife works there. Anthony Williams worked there. So instead of coming to voters and asking them to approve a bond for millions of dollars for recreation centers, they could have placed it in the TERS. So the questions that need to be answered aren't even being asked. They're not being asked up here. They're not being asked at the city council. So why wasn't our recreation centers put in the TERS to save the taxpayers' money? Why are there only certain organizations that are allowed to partner with the city? Why are certain people being cut out? Not only from public-private partnerships, but from the utilization of TERS money, because the TERS used to meet down in the basement. And when I went looking for those minutes, they were nowhere to be found. Now they're found, but they're not even recorded. So pay attention to where your money's going and who's spending it. We've had somebody sitting up here for basically the whole times in which our streets rotted.
All right, Cynthia, you're going to start off with this next question. This is where we kind of jump around a little bit more to help y'all not be behind the same person every time. We'll see what happens, see if it works. If it doesn't work, we'll jump right back into order, going back and forth.
Do you want to skip me over?
No, I want you to start first.
I mean, it's reality sucks. So, I mean, I'm fixing to lay it on you again. Do y'all want some fluff before I hit it with you again?
All right, so we're going to go with our question here with our
Okay.
first. We're going to do 2 minutes on this one because it has to do with water, and we live in West Texas. All right, so what does a proactive Abilene look like when it comes to water? How do you plan to be a voice to plan ahead financially?
Being proactive means putting the infrastructure first, not public-private partnerships, not people that you can buy out, that can hire your wives or hire you to work at their organizations. Basically, putting the infrastructure first. That's how you fix the water. And how do you plan on being a voice to plan ahead financially? Holding people accountable, like I just did. Like I'm seriously, I want to know how much Kyle's wife makes. I want to know how much Shane Price's wife makes at ACU. I wanted to know how much Anthony Williams made at ACU. He's still there. Because we lost a lot of money, and people don't want to talk about that. And when you go up to city council, they sit there and Travis Craver laughed at me one time. Kyle McAllister showed up to one of my lives harassing me when an AISD bus driver was drunk driving our kids around on the school bus. But you didn't hear about that. And you're not going to hear about it. And I'm going to tell it to you, and it's not going to be nice. It's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be something that you want to hear. I'm not going to sit up here and hand you out rose-colored goggles or glasses, because reality is not nice. And there are people struggling on a daily basis that can't make it, and I am one of them. I'm one of them, you know? So that's how you be a voice. You hold people accountable, and it's not happening right now. And as far as the water, put the water first. Put the streets first. Put your infrastructure first. We had a recreation center that was built in 1982. One of our youngest ones, it was Cesar Chavez over there on the south side. They didn't take care of it. And you know what they had to do? They had to demolish it. That's your tax dollars that they sat there and tore down. And then they came to you, instead of putting it into TERS, they came to you and asked you if you wanted another one. When they could have did a certificate of obligation, because we've got to have recreation centers. But instead of doing that, they issued a certificate of obligation for a hotel and then turned around and sold your water and your sewer bonds. And y'all don't know about that. It's ridiculous.
To answer your question, I think it's important to think of Abilene historically in the 80s. There was a focus on consumption without necessarily conservation. And I think as Abilene learned and as it experienced a lot of the mishaps in the past, because we all know Abilene is very prime for droughts, right? And so what happened historically wasn't always a look toward the future. But I would encourage you guys to know, just for contextual understanding, in the 80s, there were over 49 million gallons of water being used daily, right? As the conservation efforts grew and there was knowledge and there was a really concentrated effort in that, in 2011, there were 37 million gallons of water used a day. So I would say Abilene is leaning into long-term water conservation through understanding not what are we looking at today, but what are we looking at for the future. I would also lean into reservoir and pipeline projects, such as the Brazos River and the ones that we're leaning into, although we are waiting on a lot of the go-ahead from people outside of our control. Abilene has been definitely leaning into a lot of that. Also, education, starting from a younger age, allowing our people to understand going to the water usage is 2 days a week, letting people know reusing the consumption of water has been a movement in the right direction, and it has seen Abilene increase its opportunity in terms of water usage. And all of this information, before I hand the mic off, is found on the website of abilenetx.gov, where you can understand a lot of what are we doing in terms of the water usage, how is Abilene trying to do a better concentrated effort in terms of conservation, how are they doing a better job of educating and different things, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, to kind of just keep, piggybacking off what Travis already said, I sat down with city management, I talked to them about this issue because it's something that is really important to me and something that I really wanted to know about. I know that the new water meters that have been installed, that gives the city a lot more data and information about water consumption and what's kind of going on as far as, who is following the rules whenever they do have these conservation, restrictions in place. I think implementing, once we do have that information and data, we can really see, okay, well, who's using a lot of the water, who's violating this, and hopefully really, tighten the belt a lot on that conservation idea and really, keep educating Abilene residents like, hey, we're not in a situation where we have water is just really scarce here. So we need to be very, very mindful of, future residents and what we do with our water. And I think just really hammering home, conservation and the rates really help us in the future.
Well, we do have built into our rate structure, there is a conservation mechanism. If you use water from, I'm just going to make numbers up, 1 to 5, you pay X number of dollars per 100 gallons. Okay. If you use from 6 to 10, you pay a little bit more per 100 gallons. And then if you use like 10 to whatever, you pay a little bit more. So not only are you paying more because you're using more water, you are paying more because you're getting charged more per gallon. And so those conservation measures are already in and in place. And so that's one of the things that's kind of a year-round conservation measure. As far as what we are taking steps here in Abilene, we are upgrading our Northeast water treatment plant and the Hargesheimer treatment plant, which is down south. We are going to take Grimes, which is right over here, offline. It's just not efficient anymore. It's an old plant. We are going to have to put in some pipes to move water from Hargesheimer to Northeast and back and forth, because right now that connection does not take place. And a lot of it is because the water that comes into Hargesheimer is from OHIV, and that has a different kind of chemical makeup than the other water. Fort Phantom Hill still our number one. We get money out of Hubbard Creek. We also have pipelines in place for Possum Kingdom, and we are continuing to work on the lake up in Knox County, Aspermont area. But again, as Travis mentioned, we're waiting on the Corps of Engineers and things like that. After Winter Storm Uri, we were directed to make sure that we have power at our water treatment plants. Most of the communities in the state of Texas were directed, an unfunded mandate, if you will. We've got to have a power supply there. So that's going to be a cost that we don't have a choice. We've got to do it. The other problem that we're running into is the PFAS, which is the chemicals. We were given a time frame that we could get the PFAS out. The Biden administration backed it down to 5 years. And so we're having to decide if we now have to do in 5 years what we were going to thought we had 10 years to do, and that's going to be a cost that we're going to have to work through.
So I just have to say, I'm really appreciative of the way these questions were asked, because I feel like you can't just state facts. You've got to actually stick yourself out there and say, here's what I believe and here's a strategy. And I think that needs to happen more, because I'm surprised we sat up here and talked about water conservation and not once was money mentioned. Money was talked about, but exact numbers are not mentioned. And I think that's troubling, because the 6 years my opponent has been on the council, they've increased the debt to $100 million. And that's significant on different things. Now, the problem is they'll say water we got to fix water. Well, they use that as a combination revenue tax, which means that basically we're just going to collect it from you in your water bill, which to my knowledge, that's still taxing you for the debt that's happening. So it's not like they're getting away from it, but we have these distractions about where we're paying for things. And what concerns me most is, just like in California, they had all those millions of dollars to pay for the reservoirs, right? And when they needed it, there was no water. And that's my concern about, not that we don't have a plan, because there's a plan. And if you want to watch an impressive discussion on January 31st, the water department put on a bang-up job of really explaining what's going on in our city. And they let us know that there's going to be a $315 million possible bill coming up in the next 5 years. How are we going to pay it? I haven't heard any plans except for increasing the water bills. And the one thing I will say is the water department tries to pay for cash, but you can't pay for cash a $315 million a debt in 5 years. Also, the last fiscal year, since starting in October, we've already put $35 million proposed debt that we're going to pay, not counting what's coming up. So my problem is, we have a conservation plan. We know what we need to do. We just don't have a very good plan to pay it. And I think that's what we've got to focus on. We got to focus on Yeah, we've got to focus on, in 2020, we refunded a $53 million water bond from 2010. So we're paying for the water that we haven't even gotten to use yet, and we've got to have a better way to pay for it. That's me.
All right. So we're going to move this. We've addressed this question a little bit. So we're going to move this down to 60 seconds for this next question. I know I'm stretching out a little bit. We're going to start with Tammy. Here it is. What are the plans for addressing infrastructure challenges such as road maintenance and public transportation?
So I'm kind of shocked how, this is a hard part because I know these people and I want to respect and honor them, and I can't do that in this position the way I would normally do it. They can't pat themselves on the back anymore for doing a good job because several of these guys sitting on the council have been part of the reason why we are in this situation and have not taken more aggressive steps. I've been talking in city council for months on this. We've got to do a better job of educating people about what's going on with their streets because we have repairs going on at the same time as maintenance and new things, and it's all muddled together in 3 different types of funds, and you can't track it. And so it's really important that we educate the citizens on what's going on so that when they show up to the street advisory meeting, they're not blown off. They're not a sideshow where there's no value of being there, which is what I've been told is that's not really for the public. The public actually has a place to say something and they have a place to speak. And right now, when I talk to people, they're not happy about what's going on with the streets and they don't feel like they have a place to have their voice heard. And that's to me a concern that we need to fix and is an easy fix, in my opinion.
Am I next? Is that right?
Yes, sir.
All right. So, again, we're talking about streets. And 2015 was the first bond election we had to tackle streets, and because we knew there was a problem. It was so important that I felt the need to vote for it. Neither of my opponents voted for that. It voted in that bond election. Okay, so that's how important it is to me that I showed up to vote, yay or nay. It's important. You go back to the 80s and 90s when it was cut. We did. And look what happened to our streets. Until we made the decision to put some money towards streets. Since 2016, we have had $140 million worth of road improvements. Since 2018, we have collected $55 million towards streets from the Street Maintenance Fund. And since 2016, as I mentioned, 29% of our roads have been improved. And so, yes, it is a long road, no pun intended, but it is a long road that we have to go on to get these fixed. But we are making the moves in those directions, and 29% of our roads have been improved since 2016.
So I think with the street maintenance fee, it's more, we're pushing really, really hard to get this issue solved. It's kind of where do we go after that? We really need a designated, budgeted item to make sure that we're staying on top of this. So whenever we do catch up on street maintenance, what is the yearly cost analysis to keep our streets, very up to date and where they're not kind of just all potholed up like they are right now. So I think that's the main thing is, especially with this inflationary environment, we don't know what the cost is. That's something that we're going to have to cross the bridge when we kind of get there. But we need to focus on catching up with street maintenance. That's something that we need to keep prioritizing and get that issue up to date. And then when we get to that point, we need to make sure that we prioritize this and don't fall off again. That's the main thing, that we keep this high on our priority list.
Yes, sir.
I would say, number one, I think whether you're looking at it from a numerical standpoint of the 55 million since 2018 or over 140 million since 2016 that have been pledged to the streets, a lot of what's being shared up here in terms of narratives is transparency. We are all able to go online on AbileneTX.gov and see not only the crossroads of which are the next projects that are on the horizon, but we're also able to see the fiscal money that's being shared. And again, it's important to understand when you're sharing, I feel passionate and I want to do all of these different things to show up and vote. And in that 2015 election, just kind of that shared, I voted in that election. My opponent did not. And I think it's important to understand if you're going to speak on something and you want to have your voice heard, you have to be able to give your little inkling of your opposition or not by showing up.
I'll go, but I'm actually last.
Oh, sorry, wrong.
You're the last one.
You're last.
It's your turn.
Okay.
Everybody's
Well, it looks like we saved the best for last on this one, didn't we?
90 seconds.
90 seconds. Okay.
60
Oh,
seconds.
60. Oh, I'll take the 90. I'll take the 90.
Sorry, we're trying to keep these.
Okay, there's been two incumbents throw up the fact that, it was a dig at me, obviously, that I didn't vote in 2015. I didn't vote in 2015. Unfortunately, for me growing up, we didn't really dabble in politics. We're working class citizens. We kept our heads down and we worked. And we entrusted we trusted them. We trusted what these two did over here, only to turn around and find out that $140 million in 2016 still ain't enough for our roads. And I've come to the conclusion that it's never going to be enough because people can go and buy public bonds on the market. And I don't know if that's why our streets are never going to get fixed. I don't know why, if that's why they wanted the hotel so bad, because they sold our water and our sewer bonds. So is that why our town, it's never going to get fixed? Is it because of the bonds? Because it makes sense to me. Why would we fix the infrastructure if we could just turn around and go get money from the taxpayer? Because if you don't know what a muni bond is the most reliable bond on the face of this earth, because if it doesn't take, then they're going to come back to you and they're going to raise your taxes.
All right, so we're going on, and this one starts with Travis. All right, so this is a 90 seconds. What strategies do you propose to enhance public safety and reduce crime rates in Abilene?
I think a lot of it is just continuing to give our opportunity of feedback from having a great cultured understanding of fire and police. I think that Abilene is one of those special places where we really do believe in a collaborative effort, such as the Betty Hardwick Center, where they are not only addressing crime through, depending on what that type of crime is, it could be more of a mental health issue. So understanding that we're addressing crime and different things in the way that they should be handled. I also am a firm believer, for those of you that don't know, I did my PhD at Baylor, and so one of the things that I've always really been a proponent of is education, right? So starting as young as you can by educating and developing a really close-knit relationship for some things that you're unfamiliar with, I think would be an amazing initiative to continue to lean into at our local universities and or schools.
Back to Tammy.
60 seconds. All right.
90 seconds.
Oh, it's 90 now? Oh, you're keeping me on my toes. Okay. Sorry, probably should. All right. I am just an average citizen, and I thought I was really politically involved until 2020. And I realized I was doing absolutely nothing. And since then, I've read the Constitution more than I ever have, and I've showed up more than I ever have for my community. I'm really proud of the way I've embraced what it means to be an average citizen. Some may call me more than average, but I think we need to raise that standard of what it looks like, because we actually get to have an impact in our city. And I think that's very important when it comes to police, because if we don't have a fully staffed police department, we're going to have tired police officers. We're going to have people who are struggling to cover their shifts because they've got too much on their plate. And I want to make sure we do have a fully staffed police officers. We want to make sure their pension is taken care of. That makes it more attractive for people to want to come and be a part of what's going on in our community. And I think one of the biggest things that we've lost, I was just talking about this earlier. I remember when I was first married and I was a part of a neighborhood watch community. I think we've lost the understanding that we as citizens have ownership over our city, and we should be more involved in helping communicate what's going on so that the police don't have all the heavy lifting. I think they're doing a great job and it's important, but we've got to come along and be more supportive so that we can be a team working together to make sure our city is safe and has less crime.
One huge strategy is accountability. Another one is keeping the community informed, which unfortunately does not happen. There was a woman who was stabbed 7 times by her intimate partner. Her wrists were slit and her skin was pulled back, and nobody has heard anything about it. So neighbors, to include myself, are having to go on social media to try and figure out what's going on. Sometimes we get it wrong. Sometimes we're right on the money. But one thing that needs to happen, that definitely needs to happen, is that the community needs to be kept informed. We need to hold individuals who are responsible for certain things accountable. And what really needs to be addressed, if you want to lighten the load that our community bears when you're talking about crime rates and when you're talking about our police department, is poverty. When you look at the statistics, a lot of people don't know I have a bachelor's in sociology and a master's in rehabilitation counseling. I know how to rehabilitate an individual as well as a community. And what you got to do is you got to focus on the poverty level. In order to focus on the poverty level, you got to figure out where all your tax dollars are going. Because that's what's really the problem. People can't get jobs. And if they get jobs, there's no child care because it's been taken away. We had an after-school care program for 20-something years, and y'all took it away. So now you got 200 working families that can't work. Blaze Reagan, Shane Price, Kyle McAllister, Travis Craver. I don't know of anybody on the council that is concerned with the impoverished community that we have, and it's a direct result of where your tax dollars have gone and have not gone.
You're up, Miguel.
So 54% of Abilene's budgeted expenditures are targeted towards public safety. So this is something that's super important to Abilene residents already. And I think something that we kind of don't really talk about enough is the culture and the relationship that our citizens have with, firefighters and police officers, making sure that they feel comfortable and trust them to protect them. That's something that we need to make sure that we're really, really prioritizing and focusing on, that citizens really trust their public safety. Because if you don't trust your, police officer that you're calling, we have a really, really big problem. So Abilene's a wonderful place, and we love community here. That's something that we really do really well at. I think something that we need to continue to push for is, the relationship that our citizens have with police officers and firefighters, and making sure that they know who they are. They do feel comfortable to make that call when they're in their most, critical situation in their life where they desperately need help.
I don't know if any of y'all know Cassie at the Abilene Police Department. Cassie's our recruiter, and she has done a great job of getting recruiting classes for our police department. One of the things that we're really pushing is what they call lateral moves. Y'all remember a couple years ago when all the Austin police officers were quitting? I sent a note to them and said, hey, if you still want to work in a city that starts with A, come to Abilene, because we care about our police officers here. We respect our police officers here. We don't take advantage of them, but they are good people. And all of you in here know police officers. And Cassie does a great job of recruiting. We've got a relatively new police chief that's doing a great job with that in increasing that morale. We do have, as we mentioned, a partnership with Betty Hardwick Center, that we have officers that are trained in mental issues. So if someone is having an issue, an incident, and they need, they just don't need an officer there to arrest them. They need some mental health guidance, and we take that into account. And we're also working with other not-for-profits around town to figure out a way. I don't want to do this, what was the phrase last year, community policing? That's not what I'm saying, but I'm saying that there are opportunities to enhance public safety in our community that involve the entire community.
Good.
Oh,
right.
I'm sorry.
Perfect. All right, so this next question, we're going to do 60 seconds. I said that first so she can get ready up here. 60 seconds. We're going to start with Kyle. People seem hungry for a DOGE type of oversight. Do you support an independent audit of the city budget, accounting? Why or why not?
Okay, and for those of you that don't know, which I think you're Department of Government Efficiency, is that what DOGE stands for? That's correct?
Government. Yeah.
Something like that, okay.
Yep.
So we already have this. Every single budget comprehensive financial report that the city of Abilene has, and you can go online and look at it, about 5 or 6 pages in there, there is an independent audit by a company called Forvis out of Dallas. So every spending plan or a comprehensive budget that we have, there is an independent audit performed. We're already doing it. I guess if somebody wanted to pay for it themselves, they could, and I wouldn't mind that at all. But the city we already have one. We have one through a company called Forvis.
Cynthia, just 60 seconds.
I do think we need an independent audit. I didn't know that my opponent, the incumbent, Mr. Kyle McAllister, had a Aflac insurance policy with the CityLink until he said that, I believe, in a forum we had not too long ago. I hadn't even looked to see if that was, annotated anywhere, but I don't think it's ethical. I don't think you should sit on the council wanting to make money We had a mayor who underbid a woman-owned printing company by 300 and some odd dollars and took that away from her. And I think what's happening is you have a lot of people who are sitting on the city council who probably make a little bit of money that we don't know about. We definitely know Shane Price's wife is employed by ACU, and they're in the TERS. We know Kyle McAllister's wife is employed by ACU, and they're in the TERS. So we need to dig a little bit deeper, and I'm glad Kyle McAllister said that. I would like for that to be on an agenda, maybe the next one, because we could probably find somebody that'd pay for that audit.
You're up.
I would also echo, obviously, all of that's online where you can see the independent study. But if you notice any grants that the city receives as well, it's independently audited as well. So a lot of that, I think, is a narrative that we can help eliminate if we come to understand that all of these different things in terms of the fiscal responsibility are opportunities for us to lean into those. And then also at the end of the day, the blessing of it is going online and literally if you're just confused and conflicted of I really want to see some fiscal transparency, you can type in the word audit and it pulls it up in terms of our last one, and you can scroll down, I think it's page 23, and it shows you Forvis independent audited study. So any of you guys that want to fact check that, AbileneTX.gov in the search bar, type it in and it'll pull you to that as well.
So is this a good time to say that people have labeled me the Abilene Doge? They've said, because I've been hunting down, trying to find what's going on, not because I think they're doing bad things, but I just can't track with them. And if you want to go look at that financial audit, I have a copy of each year's financial audit and budgets on my table because I've actually read the books. I've looked at it and tried to track it. And when the street maintenance project has funds, it has a project funds, it has maintenance, it has 4 different types of funds that it can have, and you can't track it and follow in your budgets to even just see what's going on. And to me, that's where problems come in. It's not that they're necessarily not passing the audit, but like the 1 cent tax or 1 cent, I think we give 1 cent to the convention center. We don't know the balance of that. So whenever they say, hey, we need to spend money, it's like, well, how much money is in that account? We don't know. And I think it's important that we get to have that access, and going to the website and telling you to look it up yourself is basically saying, I'm not going to waste my time and letting you know what's going on, because that's a joke to try and tell somebody to go do that.
So audits versus, I think, this Doge, I think they're kind of getting mixed up. Audits do have materiality thresholds, so auditors don't look at every transaction that the city does have. So I think what we're kind of talking about is a third-party consulting group coming in to look at processes and how we do things. Are we operating in the most efficient way? The main concern is that if you do bring in a group and they start wanting to cut a whole bunch of stuff for financial incentive purposes, are they cutting places where you do need that extra oversight? Because there's areas that you do want to make sure that we are a lot of oversight in particular areas. But I think the audit versus Doge, I think that's getting a little mixed up a little bit, because people can collude, they can commit fraud. There's audits fail all the time. You see this a lot in headlines where these companies, $200 million goes missing. That's a real thing.
You'll start off on the next one, Miguel. Let's give this one 60 seconds as well. Many Abilenians are concerned about the downtown hotel financially surviving. Please share your thoughts on the role the city should play when it comes to the downtown hotel.
So I know, Abilene, we put a lot of money into the hotel, and I know investment takes time. So anytime that you do invest in something like downtown, if you look back, 10 years ago to where it is today, so much has happened, so much has changed. A lot of this takes a lot of time for it to develop. I know what we need to continue doing is supporting those businesses to make sure that they thrive and continue to grow. I know this on the city side, helping them infrastructure-wise, making sure that there are the things, proper things, infrastructure-wise, streets, Cypress is getting done. That hopefully once that construction is completed, that we do see a lot more economic activity in that area. But I just think that we need to continue to develop and just kind of give it time to kind of flesh itself out.
Okay, so again, I was not paying attention when all this went down, and I've been trying to go back and figure out what's going down, and it's really hard to even understand the timeline of this. But what I found was there was this large $1 million transfer in the budget to the hotel from the city, and I was confused about it until I went to the board meeting for the corporation, and they said, oh yeah, the city's loaning money to the downtown corporation until they can get enough hotel tax revenue service hotel tax stuff to pay for their debt service. So I was confused and asked the city council, hey, why are we paying a loan to the hotel? I thought it was going to do fine. To which I was told, oh, everyone knew that that was happening, that we were loaning money to the corporation. And so I think we're in it too deep. We've got to put it down. We've got to stay the course. They've projected another year to take to get this back up to where the hotel can actually cover the debt service, which we were never supposed to have to pay. So I think it's just not been very clear, and we've got to make sure we hold elected officials accountable for what they say so that we can track along with what they're actually doing.
So the downtown hotel, there is some misinformation about the downtown hotel. I've heard some people say, hey, it was on the ballot and the voters voted it down. It's never been on the ballot. Okay, so the hotel was not on the ballot, and the voters didn't vote it down, and then we built it anyway. Okay, the downtown hotel was, again, the Downtown Hotel Development Corporation is a separate entity that manages the hotel. Now, originally, the pro forma was to have about 3 years to attain sustainability, but it may take 4. Tammy mentioned it may take an extra year. The economy that kind of went in the tank last year has slowed that down, but we're expecting that to be in 4 years instead of 3. The hotel is paid for by hotel revenue, hot tax revenue, and downtown parking revenue, and we expect by FY27 for it to be fully self-sufficient.
Cynthia.
Okay, well, if it wasn't on a ballot for us to vote for, why wasn't it on a ballot for us to vote for it? Why did y'all issue a certificate of obligation for a hotel? Why are we in the hotel business? Because when I needed an after-school care program that you guys got rid of, you know what y'all told me? We're not in the child care business. And that all that cost was $50,000 for 200 working families to continue to work. And now they got to figure out what they're going to do. And there is no after-school care slots. The reason I know is because my son is not in one. There are no child care slots available when you're talking about after-school care and when you're talking about daycare. But y'all can have a hotel business. Y'all can be in the hotel business. So when I hear stuff like that, it really irks me and it really irritates me. And when we go up to city council, you don't answer questions up there, Kyle. Whenever it's on the agenda, y'all don't answer questions. We shouldn't be in the hotel business. And why didn't y'all tell us what we were going to be on the hook for when we were asking y'all when it was on the agenda? Why didn't y'all tell us that our water and our sewer bonds were going to be sold? Question now is, who bought those bonds?
Time.
I think understanding that, as one of the opponents mentioned earlier, like the hotel revenues, the hot tax dollars are paying for that. And at the end of the day, we all understand the economy is what it is, right? But it will be fiscally operating the way that it's operating on its own, is operating at the pretty much expected rate that it's been expected to perform, with the infusion of a little bit of the economy slowing down. So the good thing about it is as some of them have mentioned, we're not in the hotel business in terms of trying to manage it, oversee it long term. Everything that has been shared is being carried out as has been shared earlier. And so as you understand how those monies circle back, as you understand how those money pay themselves back, we are doing exactly, the hotel is performing exactly as expected. She started.
Oh, the Heritage Square.
Hold on. Let me read it.
I'm getting excited about this one.
Let me let everybody catch up. All right, so Cynthia does start this one. We're going to do this one for 60 seconds. This one was asked by a lot of people. And so all of it wasn't pretty much the same, but it was all pretty much getting to the same thing. And so the Heritage Square, which will contain a public library, was mentioned, and the rent alone has been said to approach nearly $500,000 per year. Do you believe that the city leasing building space is effective?
No, I don't. We have a downtown library. The question is why is our downtown library in so much disrepair that we have to go and do a public-private partnership? And who are we doing the public-private partnerships with? The Heritage Square is an excellent idea. I mean, I would be all for it if we got a little glitter sprinkled on our side of town. I mean, I understand Abilene's a business, unfortunately. And at the end of the day, the tax dollars are left paying for failed business ventures. And Travis Craver just said they're not in the hotel business and it's performing exactly how they expected. So why are we putting our water and our sewer bonds on the market for a failing hotel? It makes zero sense to me. Only if you want the hotel to fail, because then our water and our sewer rates are going to go up to suffice the bond. We're going back to the muni bonds here. The muni bonds are the most reliable bonds on the face of this earth because if the hotel fails, like I asked Kyle McAllister 5 years ago, hence as to why I'm sitting here now, what are we going to do with the failing hotel? We'll sell it. No, you're not. Your water's going to go up.
The current library we have was built in 1960 during the Eisenhower administration. It has used its life. It is 65 years old. The elevator doesn't work. The floors cannot handle any more books. The weight, the windows are shot, wind and dirt and everything gets in, so we need a new library. Heritage Square is being built for $43 million in a private group. We are paying about $600,000 a year in rent. If we tried to build a library that we would probably send to y'all, we're looking at probably $50 million for a new library is what it would cost to build a new one. The debt service on $50 million conservatively is anywhere between $2.3 and $3 million a year. So if we were to build a new library, we'd be paying debt service of between $2.5 and $3 million a year, or we can let the Heritage folks build the library and we pay $600,000 a year in rent. It is a financial win for us, and it gives us a brand new facility that we're not having to pay $43 to $50 million for.
So I love books. I'm a reader. I love reading. I want a library in my house. However, this is really troubling to me. The school was given to the city by the school district. Then the city gave it to the Abilene Heritage Square to donate so they could use it for the library. They were told, hey guys, we're going to raise up $42 million all on our own. It's move-in ready, turnkey ready. All y'all got to do is put your books in and go. Well, now we're paying $3 million for furniture, fixtures, and equipment. And again, it is almost $38,000. It could be $38,000 monthly rent that we're paying. Well, that's all great. We need a new library. It's 1960. We apparently can't make any plans to take care of our infrastructure so that when the building fails, we'll take care of it. And 2020, I believe it was, they decided, oh, now Abilene Heritage Square is coming in. We don't need to fix the roof. We don't need to fix the windows. We're going to just let it continue to leak because we're not going to sell it anymore. We're just going to let it go and rot and disrepair. And that seems to be a theme that I've seen in the cities. We don't take care of our infrastructure.
It's you.
I think at the end of the day, you have to consider the rate. If you were to say we, the city, is to be, at the end of the day, we all inherit things, whether we believe it or not, are our fault. When we bought a house, there were people who lived there prior to us. We had to deal with whatever was left afterwards, right? The same thing with you guys. When you move into a house that others have owned, you assume the responsibility and the role of that. On city council, it's not something that's a negative, it's an honor to be able to serve. There are things that were done and not done prior that were addressed. I think the win-win with this opportunity is at the end of the day, even at a 4.25%, it would have cost over $60 million to build a library, to where there is a win where we have others who are willing to invest and lease in the city. Is still the most cost-effective way to be able to lean into such a project as this.
So this is a rent versus buy kind of opportunity cost question. So if we were to, build, a new library, what are we passing up to do that? CapEx projects, you generally want to lean into economic stimulus drivers when you're doing CapEx projects. And when you do choose to, buy, there's a lot of costs that are associated with that cash flow wise. You're going to end up incurring a lot of, utility repairs and maintenance because those buildings are just, it's not just stagnant. Things just deteriorate over time, and you're going to end up rolling a lot of funds into a new library. And is that an effective use of our city funds? That's the big question there.
All right, so this one will start with Tammy. This is going to be 60 seconds. How do you plan to attract new businesses and support existing ones to bolster Abilene's economy?
Well, like I've learned from my dad, he's a small business owner. He started from the ground up, built his own business. Small business is the backbone of our community, and if we don't invest in small business and make things smoother for them, we're gonna have things happen. Businesses are gonna shut down. So I think that's a big part of what we've got to do to make sure that small businesses, not the big chains, have a path forward. And I've talked to business owners who say, sometimes we'll go in and say, what do we need to do to start this? And they'll say, do this, and then the city will say, do this, and they go and do it, and they're like, oh no, now you have to do this. And it just seems like there could be a better flow of how we make things streamlined, so that businesses can thrive in here rather than having to go through all the red tape. And I think, the DCOA has done a great job of bringing in some of the bigger businesses, or making some of the standard businesses or the regular businesses continue on investing in our community. But we've got to make sure that we don't forget about the local businesses that are not in the downtown area, but throughout the whole city, and that they're represented in a way that they can be successful as well.
I think continuing to understand that places like the DCOA, which have sent sales tax goes to fund a lot of different projects in our city, and they're already doing a lot of those things. A lot of people, or even some of the opponents up here, are saying that it's only dedicated to those who are in large, big business. If you'll remember, the DCOA, along with the empowerment zone reinvestment opportunities that we have, are being invested into those locally owned companies here in our city. Whereas Abimar, Coca-Cola, there are so many others where they are understanding the backbone of any city is a local business. And so whether it's a TERS, or whether it's a 380 agreement, or whether it's a neighborhood empowerment investment zone where or the city manager is given the opportunity to incentivize and to build and to continue to bring other business into our city. I feel like Abilene is doing a great job of that and needs to lean into it.
Cynthia?
I think the best thing when you're talking about attracting new business is infrastructure. And I'm always going to go back to infrastructure, because that's what your tax dollars are supposed to go to. Not to fund someone's business ventures, not to help someone have some lavish nonprofit. It's to make sure that you have a foundation as a taxpayer so that you can go to work, so that your kids can go to school. And from that point on, it's your responsibility. And unfortunately, with certain organizations, there's preferential treatment. So there's some people in this town that'll never get assistance from the DCOA. They'll never get any money thrown their way, because you're either not in the clique, or you're over there talking and you're putting the truth out there, and they don't like it, and they'll retaliate against you. But back to infrastructure, you've got to focus on infrastructure, and you've got to allow businesses to organically be grown. We just had the local close. I don't know if y'all know what the local is, but a little taco shop that was built in the TERS. And if my memory serves me correctly, I believe there was some TERS money that they got, and they're closed. That's the second one.
Kyle?
The DCOA is a great example, and a lot of times people say, well, the DCOA just helps the big guys, okay? Coca-Cola, Lancium, things like that. The reality is that it helps those guys, yes, but those employees are Abilene citizens too. And if it helps them to have a job and keep a good job, then it benefits all of us, because those are Abilenians too. But the DCOA also helps small businesses, okay? Hartman's, where's Diane? Hartman's got a DCOA, a grant loan, whatever, to help them move out to 5 Points. Vista Flags. I know some of y'all have bought your signs from Vista Flags. Vista Flags got a DCOA grant in 2019. It does help small businesses. So the DCOA is doing great things. We have Chapter 380 agreements that allow folks to put their sales tax dollars back into it. We have tax increment reinvestment zones, and we are, I think, doing a good job, can always do better, of making the process more streamlined and less burdensome for businesses that open up.
So DCOA, they're a very proactive solution to bringing in new businesses, but also if you are not ready as a city infrastructure-wise for these new businesses to come in, because those are the things that they're looking for. They're looking at your streets, your transportation, do you have the building capacity and employment capacity for their business and industry that they may be coming in. So with DCOA doing their work, I would love to see them really partner with the local universities, making sure that they're kind of planting the seeds for employment in the future, and just continuing to do what they do, because I think they're doing a great job, and I hope that they continue to find new businesses that do complement what they've already kind of brought in, and they're able to link those businesses. And I think they do already a good job of that, of linking those big businesses that are coming in to the smaller businesses so that everybody can benefit from the business that they are bringing in.
Perfect. So we're going to go to our last question. The way you looked at me, I was like, did I mess up? No. So we're going to go to our last question before our personality question, where you can tell people who you are and how to get a hold of you and all that good stuff. The last one is 60 seconds. What measures will you implement to ensure there is transparent communication and active involvement of residents in the city's decision-making process? Starting with Travis.
I think just continuing to encourage people to be engaged. I think that at the end of the day, it takes that proactive approach. I think also understanding and continuing to ask us, like, if there are things you would like to see, or there are things that you find really, really challenging to access, I think sharing what are some dashboards that could maybe give a clearly more defined answer to this. This seems a little bit murky. The city, based on, if you look at the agenda packets, the opponent that I have says transparency, transparency, transparency. When they get the agenda packet, then they complain about the length of the agenda packet. So you have to understand, in order to dial in and give that transparency, are you wanting full transparency, or are you wanting it more scaled down? I think a lot of those things are available, and we can always do better. I think it just continues to be a continued conversation, because you're never arrived, you're in process to it. And there we go. Thank you.
So for somebody who's not really a political person, is really just new to this, I would have never known much about city council if I had not been involved in nonprofits. And so I think just encouraging people to get involved, having your sphere of influence, telling people what city council's doing. Everybody has their sphere, their kind of network, staying in constant communication with people, making sure that they do know what's coming down. I think the city has done a lot as far as like the T. I love that. Kind of give you a quick little read through of kind of what's coming down on the agenda, and them having that streaming service. I think that's really great. But you as a citizen, you really have to take it to heart and really care about what's going on and staying up to date. I know we're overwhelmed with information and data all the time, but knowing what goes on in your community is really important, and us really just pushing that and making sure that the younger generations, they know what's going on, and they can really start investing early on so that they can make Abilene great.
Yep.
Is it me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this one actually ties into one of the questions that we're not going to get to, and it's talking about how if citizens email us stuff, how come we don't respond? And I think a lot of people think that's a transparency issue. First off, let me say that everything you want to know about the city is online. Is it right there? No, you may have to dig around some. But as far as emails, in the 86th legislature, Senate Bill 1640 indicated that email responses can become a walking quorum. So if you email me, and you email Travis, and you email Shane, you email Blaze, and we all respond, now all of a sudden a majority of us have talked to you about an issue outside of the public hearing. And that is illegal. I like orange. I don't want to be wearing orange. Okay? And so when people ask us, yeah, we get the emails. And if we do respond, it is come to the public hearing. We'll talk about it in public session so that everybody can hear. But that's the reason, is because we're not allowed to engage in what might become a walking quorum.
Tammy?
So I love this question because you're right. As my opponent said, I've been saying transparency, transparency, transparency. And when I mention that there are 463 odd pages in the current packet for this week, which I brought the agenda because I've already looked at it for the week, for this Thursday's meeting, it's because I think we can still give more information. And I think that because there's a large number, you guys have a job to do, you have a life to do. What would it cost the council to say, hey, listen, this is how much we spent on streets this week and we're fulfilling this item. Oh, wait, we're under budget. Oh, wait, we're under budget. Like just little things that could be happening that could be shared in the meeting so that if you don't have time to read 463 pages, you're actually getting some of the information that's in there. The other thing that I think would be great for transparency is to move the city council meetings to nights, because we used to do that. Most people work during the day and they can't get to the meetings in the morning. So how can we engage with our city council if we have to do all the work by emailing them, by looking on the website, by doing all the work? We have to put forth the effort when they're not making it easy for us to even get started, because I have had, I'll stop there. So transparency, transparency, transparency.
All right, Cynthia.
I think what has happened is that it's been made so difficult for the taxpayer to actually have a voice when they go to city council that people give up. They stop going. David Schwartz went over there for, I can't even tell you how many years, 20, 25 years. They never listened to him. Never listened to him. And I pray to God that I wish he would have ran. He knew more about the city council and where our money was going than any one of them sitting up there. But a couple of things that need to change. We need our seat at the table. We don't have a seat at the table. A consent agenda. So they get to pick what they get to talk about at city council meetings. They pass whatever they want to pass, and then whatever they want you to know about is what you're going to be able to respond to if you want to go up there and ask them questions. And even when you go up there and ask them questions, they don't want to answer them. And a lot of people don't realize how it works. If it's on the agenda, you can sit up there and you can ask them questions. Okay, well, why is our money going to Heritage Square? Why are we going and paying a nonprofit $40,000 a month for our library when we have a library downtown? Why didn't you take care of the library that we have? Because Carnegie Hall's been here since 1800s.
All right.
So that's not an excuse, that it's falling apart. You should have took care of it.
Why don't you keep the mic? We'll start with you and we'll work our way down. This one won't matter.
Is this the closing statement?
So what we want to do is, you have 45 seconds. Can you make that happen pretty easy? 45 seconds to sell yourself. This is your last opportunity, and then they can go ask you whatever they want to ask you after this.
Okay. Well, I think my personality speaks for itself. If you haven't heard of me, my name is Cynthia Alvidrez. I do a lot of advocacy via social media. Reason I do it is because you go up to city council, you waste your time, you sit there and ask some questions, and nothing gets done. So the minute I took it to social media, guess what started happening? Streets started getting fixed. We have a $9 million road around the dam. Things start getting fixed whenever you start holding people publicly accountable. Now, should it have to get to that? No. You should be able to go to your council. I should be able to go to Blaze Reagan and let Blaze Reagan know that I have an issue. But it's not going to get fixed if I go to him. It won't get fixed if I go to Shane Price. It's not going to get fixed if I go to Kyle McAllister, because I've been up there and it ain't been fixed. If you want it fixed, Cynthia Alvidrez, place 5. I'm the 3rd on the ballot, first in your heart, and I'll get your stuff fixed. And I think with Tammy, me and Tammy make a good team. She can hold them accountable.
All right.
Financially. And that's it. Cynthia Alvidrez, place 5, 3rd on the ballot, first in your heart.
So, it's really hard to sit here and wrap up yourself in a short time. I will say that I have never thought I would ever get involved in city government or anything like this. And like I said, I have all the books that I've looked through because I wanted to understand and I wanted people to help me. And sadly, I never had a conversation with my opponent until after I decided to run, or right before I decided to run. I mean, we never engaged. And so that's the problem, is if we don't have natural connection with people in the city, then we don't have opportunities to talk. And I've actually seen more city council members since I've started going than before I ever went. And so I vote for Tammy Fogel, City Council Place 6. You can look on Facebook, Tammy for Abilene. And I just want to be an average citizen showing you what it looks like to be engaged in your city in a way that makes you feel like you're connected and a part of what good things are happening.
I think first and foremost, I just desire to serve. I think that's the reason I've always done it. That's the reason I'll continue to do it, is I'm a person who desires to serve the city. That's what our job is. And so since I've been there, I've had the opportunity to engage anybody that's approached me. I've always had the opportunity to have a conversation with. I think that's our role, is we are people who are willing to engage, whether we agree or don't agree. I think at the end of the day, I'm here because I love this city. I want to do all that I can to continue to see it thrive. And I hope that if you felt like you connected with me, or if you didn't and you'd like to have a conversation afterwards, I'm here for Abilene City Council, Place 6.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to be here. I too am an average citizen. I get up every day. I have a job. I go to work. My wife gets up. She has a job. She goes to work. And we pay taxes here. We live here. We vote here, which cannot be said about my opponents. And I'm just an average citizen too, with a passion for this city. And I think that over the past 15 years, we have done some great things together. One of the questions was, what have you done? Man, I've done very little. It's what we've done together. And we will continue to do great things together. My name is Kyle McAllister. I'd appreciate your vote for Place 5.
Yeah, I'm just a businessman, and I just want to help my community. I hope one day, 50 years from now, when I'm still living here in Abilene, that I can, have a conversation, Lord willing, with my grandkids and tell them, the job that nobody wanted to do, that had no glory in it, that I heard the call and I stood up and I went down to serve. And I appreciate y'all, letting me speak here today. And I would appreciate getting to know you. And I'd appreciate your vote for Abilene City Council Place 5.
All right. So we want to say thank you for coming to the forum.
Thank you to the Republican Party.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. And so what we'll do is we'll make you all available. If there are going to be people probably stacking up chairs, but if you guys are still talking, go for it and just have as many conversations. Use this as a resource to reach out to Abilene. Sound good? All right. Thank you.